The colors of Shetland are just incredible. I mean, you get everything from the whitest white all the way to the deepest blacks, like almost like my shirt. Hi friends, welcome to my channel about creating and using hand-spun yarn. My name is Lisa and I can be found on Instagram and Ravelry as the Soulful Spinner. So welcome all new and returning viewers to my little corner of the internet. The channel is really growing thanks to all my new subscribers. We're inching towards 1,700 now, which is incredible. 4 years ago, when I kind of was dabbling in podcasting, my dream and my goal was to get to 1,000 subscribers. So to have surpassed that makes me really happy, and I'm so happy to have you here in this little space. I have loved talking with you whether it be in the comments or through Ravelry messages or on Instagram or in my email. I've gotten some messages in my email too, and it's just lovely to hear from you and to know that there are other people out there that love what I love. They love all things fleece and fiber and all things woolly. So welcome all to this channel. In today's episode, I'm going to give you an update on my Jacob spin. I'm nearly done. I'm plying some bobbins right here on my little e-spinner, and I'll give you an update on that spin. And I thought I would show you what I'm doing with the yarn after I finish plying it, so how I'm finishing the yarn. So we'll take a little break in a moment, and I will show you how I'm doing that. I want to give you an update on my Shetland breed study. So every few weeks I've been focusing on a specific breed. I talked about Romney a few weeks ago, and it was a lot of fun to research the breed and show examples and knit swatches. It was a lot of fun. So I'm doing that now with my Shetland. Shetland is it's such a fascinating breed with a wonderful history. So it's a work in progress, definitely. So let me show you what I have accomplished so far with my Jacob spin here. So these are all the skeins that I have completed. They have been spun, plied, and washed. And so you can see I've got a gradient here. And when I spun up, when I knit up a little swatch, I got 6 stitches per inch. So I'm going to have to count my yardage. I'm terrible at that, you guys, but I'm going to have to count my yardage to make sure I have enough for whatever project I'm going to work on. I think I am going to make that Autumn League pullover with this yarn. So these are the ones that are finished. And these are going to need to be washed. So you're in my laundry tub here. Let me make sure you can see. And I've got 2 buckets. I've got this bin here, which is filled with warm water, warm to hot, not quite hot. And then this side over here has got some cool water. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this Kookaburra wash. This is not a scouring agent. This is just a wash. And I'm going to put some in the hot water here. You don't need a lot of soap. That's very concentrated. So some of that wool was a little dirty, so put a little extra. Not much though. And now I'm going to take my yarn. Since there's so much of this, I think I'm going to do it in stages. So let's see, I've got one, you've got 1, 2, 3, what do I have, 6? Yeah. And 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 6 of these. So what I think I'm going to do is just do 3 and 3. So I'm going to do the light color first. So I'm going to put it in the hot water. And then one of the lighter ones here. And I'm just going to submerge it here. So what I'm going to do is just give this a soak for about, I don't know, 10-15 minutes or so. And then I'm going to take it out. I'm going to then rinse it in the cooler water. I don't go back and forth like they suggest for woolen yarn. I just do the warm wash and then a cool rinse. And then I will take it and I will abuse it by thwacking it onto the floor and then hang it to dry. So about 20 minutes has passed. I'm ready to take this out of this spin and rinse it. So throw it in the cool water. And then another one. It's amazing how woolen yarn changes its characteristics. It was pretty dirty water, actually. So this is a good old salad spinner that I have just for fiber. I don't use it for greens anymore. And what I'm going to do is take out my skeins one at a time and try to get a lot of the water out. I wish I had a supersized one for fleeces, but I know they have spin dryers, but I just don't want to spend the money on a spin dryer. Plus, I have no room for it. So, but what I'm going to do is just take one of my skeins here. And this is one of my skeins from the cold rinse. I'm going to throw it in there and spin, spin, spin. And I'm going to take it out. I'm going to do that to each of the 6 skeins. I'm going to take it outside and do the thwacking. So after spinning the hanks in the salad spinner, I'm just taking an old towel and I'm rolling the yarn to get rid of some more of the excess water. Did that to all 6 of the skeins. Now I'm going to do my thwacking, and so I will show you that next. So you can do this. I use my floor, but you could use the side of a cabinet or really anything. So what I'm going to do is take my yarn and literally do that. Sometimes I do it against the laundry tub. Get out some of your aggressions here. Usually do about 4 or 5 good thwacks all around the hank. And evidently what this does is redistributes the twist and fluffs up the yarn. And then sometimes what I'll do too is take it between my hands, and this is called snapping when you do this. Yeah. So then I'm going to take it outside to dry, and you'll have the finished yarn. Now last week I think I mentioned that I may or may not have bought another fleece from Coal Valley Farm, and I actually did. The shepherdess, her name is Becky, and you can reach her on Facebook if you're interested in a fleece. I bought the 2 fleeces I showcased in my Jacob episode were from that farm, and I purchased the fleece from her just recently. The fleece's name is Reno, and it was a ram lamb, and she described it as super clean and very next to skin soft. So I have some B-roll here. I took some video of the fleece outside on my table, and I think I'll insert that here so you can get a better close-up view of the fleece. So this is a new fleece that I just got in the mail yesterday. It's on a table in the backyard. This is a Jacob Ram. It's a Reno, 2 pounds. And as you know, if you've been following me, I had processed a couple fleeces from Cold Valley Farm before. And they were on the short side, and one of them had quite a bit of veg matter in. I think I kind of got the shepherd at the end of the season, so maybe I didn't get the best fleeces they had to offer, but they're still very lovely. But I contacted Becky, and she said they had this ram fleece. It's his first shearing, and I think this is the first time I've successfully opened up a fleece kind of the way it looks on the animal. So this up here is the neck. Because it's got a little bit of veg matter in there. And then I guess the shoulders, the fleece quality on most fleeces go from fine at the neck to coarser at the breech, at the rear area. So this is the rear back here. And then you could see the change in quality. The finest fleeces, I guess, is where the weather doesn't impact the quality as much, like on the shoulders. I guess on the front shoulders is the best quality wool. So that's what I learned from a book I'm just reading, Elsie Davenport's book. Becky said this was extremely clean, and she was right. Look. Oh wow, this is premium right here. It's got the lamb tips. This is the first shearing. Oh boy, this is really going to be beautiful. Not like I needed any more fleece, right, you guys? Look at this. Look at... Yes, this you could see, it's definitely coarser towards the end. But look how pretty. So there's a little double cut here. Elsie Davenport calls those ribs. It's where the shear went over twice. You flip it over, you can usually see them on the back, the cut end here. So as I said, shake them out. This does not have very many double cuts at all. This is super soft, super next to skin. I'm gonna, this one's feels greasier too than, of course it's a fresh fleece. Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah, like I needed another fleece, right? But it was really reasonably priced. All right, I hope you enjoyed this. Yes, so that is really a spectacular example of Jacob. So let me show you what I'm doing with it. So I am, because it's a longer staple, it's 4 to 4.5 inches, I am combing these, and I'm using my Jacob Riley combs, which I will show you here. So I'm using these combs from Jacob Riley, and what I like about these for this particular fleece is that the tines are fairly far apart, and since it's not a super fine fleece, I'm finding that this is doing a really good job of combing. Now these are one of my sharpest combs. I'm super careful not to injure myself when I'm working with these, but these are the combs that I'm using. I know they're like deadly weapons if you've never seen them before. I'll link to his shop below if you're interested in checking. He also makes spindles, Turkish spindles. Jason Riley, I think his name is. So let me put these somewhere safe where I won't knock into them. There we go. So, yeah, so what I'm doing is I'm pulling out the locks like this and lashing the locks on by the cut end and doing 4 passes with the combs. Next thing I want to talk about is my Shetland breed study. In last week's episode, I showed a fleece I purchased from Jen Johnson from, I'll give you her card, Whispering Pines Shetland Sheep Farm. And I had purchased Emma. Now, I did not show this card last week, but every time you buy a fleece from Jen, she gives you this laminated card with all the information about the sheep. So this was Emma. The average fiber diameter is 24.4. Spinning fineness was 23.3. She gives standard deviation, coefficient of variation, fleece weight, and staple length. So she is part of the Fine Fleece Shetland Sheep Association. And I believe her and her husband Rich were founding members of that group. So I had found this fleece called Emma, and she was fawn with a brown spot. And I forgot to show this to you guys last week, but this was a skein that I spun from that fleece probably 3 years ago. I bought it in the fall of 2016. So this is Emma Shetland from Rolex, and I am much better now at spinning from Rolex, but I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. And it's got a very silky, soft handle. So I forgot to show that to you guys last week. So I splurged, you guys. After working with this fleece, I checked out her shop, and I purchased 2 fleeces from Jen. One of them is a fawn katmoget, and the other one is a gray katmoget. And I will show you the cards, and then I will insert here a little video of me looking at the raw fleece and talking about it a little bit in detail. But here I will show you what the cards look like. So I bought Dina, and Dina is the fawn katmoget. Now katmoget means all one color, but brown along the edges. So Shetland have all these different markings. I'm researching that, and they got all these cool names. Katmoget, socket, euglet, all these different names. And I'm going to order a poster with all the different markings. But this one is Dina. And then the other one was Lakshmi. Now, if you guys listen to NPR at all, you may recognize those names. So every year Jen has a different naming scheme for her lambs. So for example, Emma was her Jane Austen year. So she had all of her lambs, named Eleanor, Mary Ann, Mr. Darcy, and so on. So I thought that was really cute. And then this year, or the year that this lamb was born, she's the fleece year is 2020. And I think she said she was she's 2 years old. So she's considered a yearling. I think it's less than 2 years old. So it was NPR correspondence for this year's One year she did Downton Abbey characters, so she's got like Mrs. Hughes and Ivy, and it's really cute. These fleeces are, I think that what I understand about Shetlands, and I actually found this pamphlet. I think I saved this when I went to a fiber festival. This is the pamphlet that comes from the Fine Shetland Sheep Society. No, it's called finefleeceshetlandsheep.org. And in this little booklet here, it gives you the grading chart for Shetlands. And I'll talk more about Shetlands and the history and things that I'm learning in a later episode. But what I wanted to mention here is that in the chart, it gives you grade 1, superfine premium, grade 1, superfine, grade 2, all the way to rough. So the way I understand it is there's a variety of types and micron counts that's, in the Shetland breed standard. So according to my information here with these fleeces, so Lakshmi, for example, the average fiber diameter is 23.8. So that's going to put her at grade 1 superfine, average fiber diameter 20 to 25.0, 8 or more cribs per inch, which is what I have seen. Very silky and soft, exceptional and rare. Next to skin, lace to fingering is what is advised for that particular grade. And so she gets her fleeces, the locks, tested every year. And she's just very precise in her records. And so I feel like it's really neat to get to find a fleece that fits into that category. I don't think that they're too common. So you're definitely going to pay more for something that's rare. But I was thinking about, the cost of fleeces and what people are willing to pay. And I don't think that we probably pay enough for fleeces, for any fleece really, especially a coated fleece. I think we're used to trying to, get things for, not a lot of money. And I could see if it's just a byproduct of the meat industry and they have to shear them anyway, and it's not really, the sheep aren't being raised for hand spinning purposes. But for a shepherd or shepherdess to raise an animal for hand spinning and coat them and for the care and upkeep of the animal, what is a fair price for their fleece? Does what you pay even cover their medical costs for the year? I don't think so, but I think it's a balance, I think Beth Smith wrote an article about the price of fleece and how you shouldn't balk at what you're going to pay if it's a premium product. So I will insert here a little video of the two fleeces I purchased and the progress I'm making so far. So I hope you enjoy it. I got a delightful package in the mail yesterday from Whispering Pines Farm. Jen Johnson in New York. And I bought 2 of her premium Shetland fleeces, her superfine fleeces. I had bought one of her fleeces at Wisconsin Sheep and Wool some years ago, and I always wanted to buy some more from her, and I did this summer. So I've got two fleeces here. One of them is called Dina, and the other one is Lakshmi. And every year she has a different naming scheme. So one year she did all Jane Austen characters. Actually, I have Emma's fleece. I think this year they're doing Game of Thrones. So yeah, these were named after NPR correspondents. So, that was cute. So I got 2 fleeces. They're both rude, which means that they're basically peeled off the sheep when they have the rise, where some of the Shetlands naturally molt their fleeces in the spring. So I bought these 2 fleeces, which I'm going to show you and give you the specs on. And then I also purchased a couple of fiber bats from a rude lamb. So if you've ever seen her at a fiber festival, she always provides you with a picture of the animal and the details here. So this is in ounce This is an ounce of rude Shetlands, pure black. She has a video on YouTube of her ruing this sheep, so I'll link that below. It's pretty cool. So I'm going to open up these two fleeces. I really haven't had a chance to look at them in detail, and I'll let you have a peek as well. This is Dina. Dina is described as a fawn katmoget. So a katmoget marking is a Shetland that has all one color on its body, and then around the edges it has darker colors. So you can see that most of the fleece, and this is not going to be in one piece as if it had been sheared because it was actually peeled off the sheep, but it is pretty much intact here, as much as I'm sure as much as possible. So let me show you what the lock looks like. It's extremely fine crimp structure, like I couldn't even count them. It's so crimpy and fine. Maybe you could see here. This is beautiful. And so what I'm hoping to do is to be able to separate out the browns from the creams so that I can do a gradient. Yeah, it's very, 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 very soft. Let me pull out a lock so you can see the lock length. I pulled out 3 of the locks here. Most of the fleece is like this. I would say it's a 3-inch staple. And then the brown is shorter. Brown. And then there's this kind of medium. So here's a picture of that's Lakshmi. This is Dina. So the brown is from the edges, so you could probably expect those to be a little shorter. There's a picture of the fleece, and then the average fiber diameter is 24.3. But it spins to a feeling of 23, so it's quite fine. If you've never spun anything this Shetland like this before, it's kind of a surprise. It is not the scratchy Shetland wool that a lot of us are familiar with, or some people think is scratchy. But this is very, very soft, very crimpy and bouncy, elastic, and fine. So I'm going to wash this using Jen's method of, she just puts it in a soccer ball bag. Oh, look at here, guys. Here's the part that's the brown. It's a little longer stapled. So I'm not sure how I'm going to process this. I'm a little worried. It was very expensive. And it's very luxurious. So this is it's rude, so it's not all in one piece, but it's looking pretty darn good. Look at this crimp here, guys. Stunning. Alright, I'm going to show you the other one. The other one is the gray katmoget. But yeah, I thought you'd get a kick out of seeing these little locks here. I think this one's my favorite of the two. This is Lakshmi. Lakshmi is a gray katmoget, and again you get this laminated card with a picture of the ewe, fleece, and all the information here. So this one says average fiber diameter is 23.8, spinning fineness 22.7. So she gets there's her information. Whispering Pines, Shetlands. She's got a nice blog where she talks about how she washes the fleece. There's some information about Shetlands there as well. And this is a gray katmoget. And you can see, again, the katmoget means it has some darker colors around the edges of the fleece. So she included this. And so I'm going to hopefully be able to separate some of the colors here. So you're looking at basically the rude end. And I think it's so interesting that this is rude. So you do not have a sharp cut that you normally have with a sheared fleece, where it's just, basically shaved off the animal. So this is rude. And I think what I like about this is you're not going to have any second cuts. I mean, absolutely zero. And I think it's going to be pretty easy to process in that regard. So I'm going to flip it over and let you have a better look at it. One thing that happens when you're handling a fleece like this is your hands get nice and moisturized. It's so soft, so clean. So you can see I hope you can see the fine crimp structure here. It was coated, of course, and it's going to wash up to a gray. So I can't wait to see what it looks like washed up, to see how the colors are going to come out here. So yeah, it's gray, and look at here. Look at over here. Look at that. It's stunning. Ah, I could just. It was very small. She's only. Lakshmi's only. It doesn't say how many ounces. I think it was like 20. Oh, it's 27 ounces. Yeah, 27 ounces. So, you know, less than 2 pounds. Well, I hope I can do a good job with this, you guys. Wish me luck, because it's so soft. It's very squishy. It's just dripping with lanolin, so you could see my hands are getting quite a nice treatment. Well, I did it. I separated out a clump of the gray and a clump of the fawn. Yeah, I hate to tear up the fleece. You know, I'm always afraid I'm going to disturb the lock structure, but I really wanted to get a few ounces of each of these to see how it washes up. This is the result of my scouring of Dana's fleece from Jen at Whispering Pines Shetland Fleece. Soft Shetland fleece. Soft Shetland wool, I think is her Etsy shop. I'll link her below. This was Dina. This was the fawn katmoget. And what I did yesterday is I took this small amount here, which probably represents 1/3 of the fleece. I scoured this separately and made sure that I could scour it okay without damaging the fleece. It's very, very fine, and I was worried I might ruin it. But I did my usual mesh bag method. This is a fawn katmoget, so it's mostly fawn, but it's also got some browns, some mort colors that I can pull out to get another skein of brown. Though I do have a mort Shetland in my stash, so I'm not too worried about that. Here are 2 of the locks from Dina. This one is just the kind of the oatmeal color, I suppose. And you can see this is rude. So there's no sharp edge here at the butt end because it was pulled off the sheep, which I think is just so super cool. And then there's some browns here, a little bit of brown. Like I said, I think I have a mort lamb fleece in my stash from Psalm 23 Farm that I bought many, many years ago. And then here, yeah, so you can see it's going quite well. I'm gonna get a better shot of this crimp structure here. It's still pretty wet, but yeah, you can see a little fine crimp. So I moved my drying rack, aka my lounge chair, out into the sunshine, out from under the tree. So this is, as I was saying, this is Lakshmi. And Lakshmi is a gray katmoget. This one is my favorite. This is absolutely stunning. They're both beautiful. But this is it drying in the sun. This was about 1/3 of the fleece. Think about probably about 8 ounces that I scoured first because I was worried. You know, I worry. It's got multiple shades of gray, so it's got, forgive that, it's morning and people are working in their yard. It's got a very, very light gray, and then it's got darker shades here, as you can see. I hope you can see this in the sun. Here's an especially darker lock. And then I pulled one out. So when you pull it out, all that crimp just fluffs up and it still stays pointed. So I think I'm going to use my mini combs on this. I'm not going to have a ton of waste because it is rude. And then I'm going to card the combing waste for woolen spinning. So I'm going to do a combed top. It's been sort of semi-worsted, letting some of the twist go up into the fiber supply. And yeah, so here's another lock here, but if you stretch it out, it's about 3.5 inches, but it's like a spring. It's just it's so crimpy. So beautiful blue-gray here. So yeah, this is super exciting. Oh boy, it's gonna dry fast today. It's very, very hot today already, and it's only about 8:30 in the morning. So I've got one more scour to do. I'm going to scour the rest of this fleece here, this Lakshmi, and hopefully get all these washed up today. So yeah, this is progress on my Shetland breed study, which is going to be an ongoing project. There's just so much to learn about Shetlands and so many hours that I'm going to have to spin and knit to get some thoughts together. But I thought I would just take you along on my progress thus far. So this is what I've washed so far. This is Lakshmi. This is the gray. And look at this. I know I've shown you a lot of video of this fleece, but it is absolutely stunning. It was a rude fleece, which I think I talk about in those videos there. So I'm going to pull out a lock. I've maintained the lock structure the way I washed it. I'm going to pull it out. And what Jen does is she pulls it out lock by lock, flicks both ends, and she spins it. She sells some of her hand spun on Etsy if you check out her website. Now, when I purchased Emma a couple years ago, I had also, let me see if I can find it. So when I purchased Emma a few years ago at the Wisconsin Sheep and Wool Festival, I also bought some roving from Jen, and I spun it up, and I'd forgotten that I had this. I wanted to show you this finished skein. Here it is. I think she was supposed to be at Rhinebeck this year, but look at how bouncy it is. So this was, I've got the tag here, gray 1 ounce battling. So I think I bought 2 or 3. I can't remember. I'll have to weigh this and let you know. But this is a gray. Fleece year was 2015, and it was the neck wool. So she painstakingly removed any chaff out of the neck wool, and she created these fiber bats. And I spun this up, probably in the fall of 2016. I spun it quite thick. I would say this is DK weight. So with this fleece here, I'm hoping I can get a finer fingering weight. I know you can get super fine cobweb from this because of its fineness, but if I can get fingering weight, I'll be really happy. So I thought you'd be interested in seeing what a gray Shetland looks like all spun up. So I thought I would show you some of my other Shetland spins that I have done in the past. So again, this is Emma here, and then this is that neck wool. This is spun a little bit thicker. So I'm much better now at spinning thinner than I was 4 years ago. But I'm going to show you a couple of other skeins that I spun up. So this is the yarn that I spun up in one of my previous videos where I do long draw spinning on my Lendrum folding wheel. I can link that below. And it's an oatmeal colored fleece. And it was from Psalm 23 Farm in Wisconsin. Now, Laura Matthews at one point was a Shetland breeder. Look how scrunchy that is, springy. She was a Shetland breeder, but I think because Shetlands are so small, you don't make a ton of money at the by selling fleeces unless you sell them for more than $10 or $15 a pound, like some fleeces you can buy. I think if it's such a tiny animal and you're only getting less than 2 pounds, I think what she did is she sold all of her Shetland sheep, and then she has some crossbreeds now, Coopworth crosses and Shetland crosses. So this is a oatmeal colored that I spun long draw from carded prep and spun fairly and plied fairly tightly here. So actually this and this gray really go together nice. I also bought from Laura, I bought a Morit Shetland lamb's fleece. At the same time I purchased this one, I think. But look at the color. I mean, the colors of Shetland are just incredible. I mean, you get everything from the whitest white all the way to the deepest blacks, like almost like my shirt. So this was Janet, and this is a Morit. So you can see what's going on here is I'm getting quite a selection of colors. But wait, there's more. So I also found this skein in my stash. And I put a little tag, and I do encourage you guys to put some sort of tag on your yarn when you finish it, because you will forget what it is and where you got it. So this is a Harmony Shetland Rude, and this was also from Laura Matthews. And I spun this from carded Rolags, and I think I did a really good job on this. This would be suitable for baby clothes, I think. It's super, super fine, super soft. And very, very elastic, very soft, very bouncy. So I am going to have a lot of Shetland to work with. So I think in a later video I'll talk more about Shetland and give you some other examples. But I wanted to show you one other thing that I purchased from Jen. So I really didn't have any darkest black. And she does have some black fleeces for sale, but I already purchased 2, so I couldn't buy 3. And so what I did is I settled for buying a couple of batlings. Now this is Frigg. I don't know, I'm not a Game of Thrones fan, so they may be named after a character from Game of Thrones. So I bought 2 1-ounce bats. I think that you saw that in the little video I inserted. So with these 2 spun together, that'll round out all my shades of Shetland. Yeah, this is unbelievably soft. Check out that video she made of her ruing Frigg. It's fascinating how they just peel it right off the sheep. So yes, if you're interested in a rare, super fine Shetland fleece, you could go ahead and check out Jen Johnson. I will leave a link to her shop below. She has finished hand-spun yarn that you can purchase. She has hats and mitts that you can buy, and she's got prepared bats you can spin, and then also fleeces. So I would, if you're interested in splurging a little bit on something that's super, super premium and an absolute delight, I definitely suggest you check out her shop. I went to my bookshelf and I found some resources. I thought I would close today, share with you a couple of resources that I have on Shetland sheep and Shetland knitting. So the first one is called, it's this one. It's the Shetland Hap Shawls, Heirloom Knitting, Then and Now by Sharon Miller. And I think I bought this from her website a couple years ago. It's www.heirloomknitting.com. I'll leave a link to all this in the description box. But this is a book about, it is lavishly illustrated. It says it's lavishly illustrated, and it is. There's a lot of color pictures in here, and also color charts. So you can see, so you get color charts in here with the color schemes, and then just beautiful, beautiful pictures from the time period. The Morag shawl is here. I'm just looking at these ladies here with all that on their backs. Think about how hard their lives were. We do this for fun. And for them it was, I'm sure, a lot of hard work and toil. So she's got information here about the Shetland sheep and lots of pictures. So if you're interested in the history of knitting, I highly recommend this book. So I think I'm going to pick a hap, get some ideas for a hap shawl and a color scheme from this book. But I have a couple others I wanted to show you. This one is called A Legacy of Shetland Lace, and this is from the Shetland Guild of Spinners, Knitters, Weavers, and Dyers. And this has got a lot of good information, and then patterns with their chart. It gives you the chart up here. So here's a pattern by Hazel Tyndall that I thought would be fun to make. Actually, this would be really nice to make with that thicker gray yarn that I spun up. So this requires, it's called a Hesta scarf, and it's got the chart, and that's about it. No, Hesta scarf, designed and knitted by Hazel Tyndall. It's made with thicker yarn with patterns in each end and a pattern for holes. So it's two 50-gram balls of soft spun Shetland chunky wool. So maybe that's what I'll do. Isn't it great to be inspired by stuff you already have? What do you think? I think I could make it out of this. So ideas, ideas, ideas. So this is again from the guild, and they have like personal stories and patterns in here of beautiful, beautiful shawls and scarves. So maybe, you know, I don't know, some of the lace work is beyond my skill level, but I think some of it I might be able to tackle. Like here's a scarf that might be doable for kind of a novice lace knitter. Here's a sweater cardigan. So I forgot that I had this in my on my bookshelf there. So really neat. I can't wait to delve into this. It's printed and published by the Shetland Times Ltd. I think I got this from Jamieson and Smith when I ordered I think I ordered a card with all the colors of the Jamieson and Smith, and I think that's when I got this book. I'm going to check that out, and I'll leave a note here underneath, and I'll leave a link below to where you can access this. All right, and then a couple others. This one is Heirloom Knitting. This is also by Sharon Miller. So Sharon Miller is the one that wrote this book here, the Half Shawl book. Heirloom Knitting is all about Shetland lace knitters pattern and workbook. So a lot of it is just charts and lace patterns, edgings and so on here with the charts, and she has how to read a chart. It's not really too many patterns per se. There is a christening shawl, which is absolutely stunning. Again, I'm not, my skill level isn't anywhere near where I could handle something like this, but level baby's first jacket and booties project here. Maybe a small cobweb yarn. I don't know if I want to knit with cobweb yarn. I think the thicker, chunkier yarn is more my style. So I don't know. This book was probably one that I probably didn't need to purchase, just because I don't know if I'd ever have the skills to be able to knit anything from here. But it's nice to have in my library anyways. And then the last book I have is called In the Footsteps of Sheep. And this was a gift from my husband for Christmas a couple years ago. And this is Tales of a Journey Through Scotland, Walking, Spinning, and Knitting Socks by Debbie Zawinski. And it's her narrative where she traveled around, and as she traveled around, she spun yarn, and then she would knit socks. So she talks about finding tufts of wool and being gifted wool from shepherds, and she's got a lot of patterns for socks in here. This is really a neat book. I'll show you the table of contents here. So chapter 1 is the Shetlands. Chapter 2 is the Scottish Black Faces. Chapter 3 is the Hebrideans. The Borays is chapter 4. The Soways, the Cheviots, the North Ronaldsay, the Castle Milk Morit, the Beaumonts, the Cheviots. And in each chapter she has a pattern for a pair of socks. So I found this pattern here. Let me see if I can get a better. So this was one that she had knit out of Shetland. Now they give this pattern for Jameson's Spindrift socks, but I think that what she did is she knit them out of her hand spun. So yeah, she just spindle spun as she traveled around, and she spun on a spindle stick, and then she did a makeshift niddy noddy with some bones. She put a niddy noddy together, and she just spun it on a stick. So it just goes to show you don't need fancy equipment to make yarn. So the socks told a story of my journey, a story of sheep, a story of lost ways of life, and a tale of chance encounters along the way. Within these pages are all the stories and the patterns from my summer in the footsteps of sheep. So, do you have this book? Has anybody read it? I'd love to hear your feelings on this if you've had a chance. There's a newish book out now, I think, called The Golden Fleece, and it's a similar sort of narrative, but I think this one's definitely worth a read. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Soulful Spinning. I'm getting kind of nervous because I have more viewers now, because when you have a channel and you only have like 100 people and watching, so you don't feel like the pressure's on to create something like really good. But I know you're friends and you're kind, and I hope you enjoy my weekly episodes. Sometimes I worry I have nothing to talk about, and as you see, I'm never at a loss for something to talk about when it comes to sheep and fleece and spinning and knitting. So I will call this episode done, and I will talk to you next Friday. I hope you have a great week. I hope you're enjoying the weather. wherever you are, and we'll talk to you very soon. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.